My partner is a massive fan of the classic science fiction anthology series The Twilight Zone, and together we've watched every episode of the show multiple times. The structure of a Twilight Zone episode is largely the same across the series. We get a brief snippet of a story before series creator and host Rod Serling comes on screen to deliver a monologue setting up the plot of the upcoming episode. Then, at the end of the episode, Rod Serling comes back out and reflects on the story that has just played out. Often these narrations serve to relay and reinforce the themes of the episode and its intended message, explaining to the audience why the characters found themselves in the Twilight Zone.
With me, away from this sad world.
There's an episode of the Twilight Zone that I haven't ever been able to get out of my head. While Come Wander With Me was not the last aired episode in the show's original run, it was the last episode to be produced, and to me reads as something as a finale for the series and its ideas. It can also be viewed as an anomaly in regards to the formula I just described. I say this because some episodes don't end with a moral. Sometimes the episode ends, as my partner likes to joke, with Rod Serling coming out and saying, essentially, wouldn't it be fucked up if that had happened?
In retrospect, it may be said of Mr. Floyd Burney that he achieved that final dream of the performer, eternal top-name billing, not on the fleeting billboards of the entertainment world, but forever recorded among the folk songs of the Twilight Zone.
Come Wander With Me, to some, is one such episode. In it, a young musician named Floyd Burney arrives in a small town where he tries to purchase folk music from some locals, the first of which being an old man who operates some sort of instrument store. When the man tells him he has nothing to sell, Floyd insists that he will pay cash, and it doesn't matter whether the man wants to sell or not. Any songs he has would be PD, public domain. After being turned down and leaving, he hears a young woman, Mary Rachel, singing in a haunting melody off in the distance. When he approaches Mary Rachel, she tells him that she can't sing the song for him because it's secret and belongs to someone. Floyd again insists that it doesn't matter. Neither Mary Rachel nor anyone else can own the song. It is public domain. They have a discussion where she informs him that she has promised the Rayford brothers that she won't sing the song anymore. Floyd stops Mary Rachel as she tries to leave and gives her his guitar, telling her to play and sing as if they were the only two in the world.
He said, come wander with me, love. Come wander with me, away from this sad world. Come wander with me.
After hearing Mary Rachel play part of the song, Floyd stops her again and asks to buy the song from her, offering upfront payments and eventually a percentage, to which Mary Rachel responds, "It can't be bought, not that way." Floyd then plays the song back for her as she watches on with longing. When he finishes, she asks, "Would you really take me away?" And they begin to kiss.
Oh, far from this sad world, Mary Rachel.
And you'd love only me?
Only you, Mary Rachel, only you.
After the break, we find Floyd and Mary Rachel lying in the forest, listening to a recording he has made of her singing the song. On it, we hear a new verse in which she informs us that she was sworn to another and could never be free. Floyd asks Mary Rachel to tell him the story, to which she responds, "The story of our love. I've always loved you." When the song continues, we hear Mary Rachel sing about the four Rayford brothers, one of whom she is betrothed to, that hear of the wanderer who loves her. After Floyd stops the playback, Billy Rayford appears in their clearing with a gun. Floyd tells Mary Rachel to stay away while he goes to talk to Rayford, who holds him at gunpoint and tells him to come along to see Rayford's brothers who know how to deal with your kind. After Mary Rachel distracts Billy, Floyd attacks him with his guitar, and in the ensuing struggle kills Billy with a blow to the head from a rock. As Floyd stands over Billy's body, his tape recorder begins to play another new verse of its own accord, one in which Mary Rachel says,
You killed Billy Rayford. bespoke unto me, struck him down in his anger, 'neath an old willow tree. By the lake
Floyd begins to panic, destroying the tape recorder, and asks Mary Rachel, "How did you know, and how did you get that verse on the tape?"
you killed
Floyd then asks how many other men she's gotten with this con, and she informs him, "No one else, only you. It's always been you." Floyd begins to panic, and together they run from the scene. When they stop, Mary Rachel begins singing again, describing how Billy's brothers find his body alone and swear vengeance upon the wandering stranger who killed him. Floyd runs from Rachel and the Rayfords, eventually finding himself cornered back in the instrument store. As he hides, the instruments begin to play cacophonously, and we see the shadows of the Rayford brothers walking into the store while Floyd cowers before them. A gunshot is heard, and as we watch, after a fade, the camera moves in to show Floyd Burney's tombstone, dubbing him the Wandering Man. I probably should have been upfront with this fact, but this isn't just a discussion of a genuinely incredible episode of The Twilight Zone. This is a sort of counter-analysis to a short section in an old video from one of my favorite creators, Big Joel. I recommend that you go watch that video, both because it's a really good video and so you can draw your own conclusions on what he has to say. In it, the major takeaway he gets from the episode is on the theme of ownership.
I pay cash.
Floyd is obsessed with purchasing and owning the rights of the songs he's after. Mary Rachel is obsessed with how the song is already owned by someone. Billy Rayford is obsessed with how he owns Mary Rachel by way of their betrothal. Big Joel makes, I think, something of a mistake in this belief, though. There's a small line that colors how he reads the episode and its dynamics, and I feel that he's misinterpreted its meaning. Let's take a look.
When Bernie first meets Mary Rachel, she tells him that she can't record her song for him because it belongs to someone else.
That song is secret. It belongs to somebody.
It can't belong to anybody. Nobody can buy it. It's public domain.
Presumably, she's referring to Billy Rayford, the man who she's unhappily engaged to, and who in some sense comes to own and dominate her.
Be honest with me. Are you satisfied with that analysis? Well, this interpretation, that Billy Rayford's belief that he should own Rachel is analogous to Floyd's belief that he should be able to purchase the rights to songs, isn't bad or wrong necessarily. I feel he's misunderstood Mary Rachel's meaning. Big Joel reads her words as implying that the song belongs to Billy Rayford, the someone else of his analysis. What Mary Rachel actually says, however, is that song is secret. It belongs to somebody. As Big Joel shows later in his video, Mary Rachel actually specifies who the song belongs to.
But it's our song. It belongs to us, and we belong to it.
Then take it back. I don't want it. Take it back.
I can't. It's been used.
Now, if you've seen this episode before, you may have noticed that I've been omitting something from the discussion so far, an omission that I've been borrowing from Big Joel's analysis to illustrate how I think he arrived at this conclusion. It's the point on which I feel the story and its meaning hinge, and that point is this. The story implies heavily that these events have happened before and are repeating themselves. For example, when Floyd and Mary Rachel are found together in the clearing by Billy Rayford, Mary Rachel informs Floyd that he always comes here. As Floyd stands to talk to Rayford, Mary Rachel reacts strongly, emphatically begging, no, not this time. When Floyd panics about the tape recorder playing a verse he doesn't recognize that describes the actions he just took, Mary Rachel tells him it always happened that way. Then, when Floyd tries to figure out what to do, Mary Rachel asks him not to run this time, that maybe she could hide him and this time it could be different. When Mary Rachel says the line Big Joel referenced about the song belonging to them and them to it, something more happens.
Would you really take me away?
Oh, far from this sad world, Mary Rachel.
And you'd love only me?
Only you, Mary Rachel. Only you.
story isn't as simple as Big Joel sells it, and I think that simplification has led to missing what the story is doing. Multiple times throughout the episode, we see as Mary Rachel looks out on Floyd and herself in a funeral shroud, as well as seeing Billy's tombstone as he wanders through the forest at the start. This isn't a tale simply concerned with ownership, it's an allegory for cycles. Most directly, it can be read as a story about a man who loops through his own death and seemingly endless repetition, but I think it's about more than that. I think this story is about the cycle of violence. Floyd Burney rolls into town searching for songs and finds himself, either genuinely or not, in a love affair with a betrothed woman. Upon being discovered, he is threatened with violence and commits an act of violence himself to escape the situation. When offered the chance to hide and be safe, he refuses. He is trapped in the cycle and unable to make any other choice. As Mary Rachel sings, he begins to react with anger, screaming at her to stop, tensing up as if to strike. He grabs her violently when he decides to run and knocks her down in the process. He's continuing to use his physicality to try to solve the problem, unable to consider other options. Upon arriving back at the instruments shop, he begs the owner to hide him, and the owner responds, "It's too late," and walks off. He ignores Floyd, who, in his frustration and anger, throws the man to the ground and strikes him. Initially enacting violence out of fear, Floyd has now become accustomed to it, and it is the first tool he reaches for to resolve his conflicts. This leads, unfortunately, to an end that is all too familiar. Floyd is struck down by the brothers of the one he killed, completing his role in the cycle and beginning it anew for others. This theme about the cycles of violence extends into the theme of ownership. Floyd comes into town as an outsider looking to profit from the works of another community, looking to become fat on the fruits of others. The arranged marriage between Mary Rachel and Billy Rayford is another form of violence, removing her agency and forcing her to be with a man she's clearly not interested in. Billy Rayford, in turn, does view Mary Rachel as a piece of property and feels it is his right to protect that property with violence.
I'm not sure if there is some big, profound message that this episode is conveying. I can't really say what it says about owning stuff. Just that that idea is really fundamental to what's going on here in some way. And maybe that strange lack of clarity is the point.
This is what I find interesting about Big Joel's read on the episode. He doesn't interface at all with the topic of cycles in the story and with how the song reflects the current events of the story before predicting future ones. With how Mary Rachel talks about the events as though they've happened before, with how Billy's tombstone appears at the start of the episode, with how Mary Rachel can be seen throughout the episode in her funeral garb. Yes, the topic of ownership is important to the episode, but it's important in that it's reflective of how ownership can be a source of violence in society. This, to me, is what leads to the disconnect Big Joel has with the ending of the episode. In his video, he observes that it would make sense to end with another verse of the song, ruminating on Floyd's death, saying,
Now, it's us, the audience, who can't own this song. We want to hear the rest. We want to have our clean ending, but such an event will never occur. The song is forever incomplete.
I don't think this is entirely true. No, we don't get an ending to the song, but not because it's incomplete. There is no ending to the song, only an interlude, a break before the refrain begins again. The song is a loop, bringing us all right back to the beginning, calling for us to come wander. We cannot own the song because it truly does own us. We have been caught in its cycle all the same as Floyd and Mary Rachel and Billy Rayford. There is no other way for us to interact with the song but to start it again, to follow it back to the beginning, to pull out from Floyd's grave and watch as he stumbles yet again into his own demise. Let's circle back to the start of this video. In it, I said that the closing narration of this episode could be summed up as, "Wouldn't that be fucked?" But now, I hope, you agree that that's not true. In retrospect, it may be said of Mr. Floyd Burney that he achieved that final dream of the performer, eternal top name billing, not on the fleeting billboards of the entertainment world, but forever recorded among the folk songs of the Twilight Zone. wish I had a cigarette so I could really be Rod Serling. Okay. You know, he's always holding it, being like, I'm Rod fucking Serling. That's what he sounds like.